Hello, everyone. Welcome to Absolutely Marvel and DC. This is Dylan. That's Dan. We're two D names. There's a joke there somewhere.
We got the double D up in here.
I was going to say that, but I left it on a platter for you. That's my gift to you, Dan.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm a fan of alliteration, so it works for me.
Of course. We like comic books, so we have to be fans of alliteration.
Exactly.
Part of the contract. We're going to talk about Superman Lois episode 3, which it was episode 3, right? Yeah.
Yes. I won't lie, when I started it, I was like, wait, did we skip episode 2? No, we talked about both last time.
Yeah.
We talked about both.
I think it's been 3 weeks. Somehow. Since this show started. It doesn't feel like that.
It does not. It definitely doesn't.
Anyway, what did you think about this episode? I liked it, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than I thought it was going to be. I mean, to be fair, I'll be honest, I don't have the highest of expectations with this show. I've never been the biggest Superman and or Lois fan, but I don't know. I'm actually enjoying like the high school stuff a bit more than I have in other CW shows with the high school, where it's a lot more standard TV stereotypes, whereas this one honestly kind of feels more like, yeah, that's pretty much high school. Like, kids are just dicks half the time, and the other kids want to just beat on them when they've got superpowers, because, you know, obviously that happens in real life. No, I thought it was good. I thought it was well paced. I thought we got a decent amount of the characters. We didn't get too much on Superman, or Lex and like that stuff. But I did like the teaser at the ending that's related to Superman, but I'm sure we'll get to that. What did you think?
This was honestly the first episode of this show that I think I can like say that I enjoyed. And I think a lot of that just comes down to like the minutia in the writing of like not the like plot bits. And I think one of the reasons I did like this episode is because they kind of ignored the plot for most of this episode and just focused on Clark's relationship with his kids and just the relationships between like all the high school peoples. And I enjoyed that. I thought it was more well written than it has been in the past. They're continuing to stop making Jonathan like a bully to his brother, which I had a lot of problems with in the first episode, and they kind of did away with in episode 2. And still here, he's like, you know, the one time he gets angry at Jordan in this episode, it is a completely valid like anger to have. It's not just like, I'm gonna bully you for no reason because blah. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So like I feel like not a lot happened in this episode, but that's fine because it was like kind of a character episode, which is the stuff that I enjoy, and we got to see Superman doing some Superman-y stuff, and that I'm down for that.
I like what you're saying with the brother Jonathan not being like a bully to his brother. I feel like this was one of those episodes where it shows that he wants to be a good brother, but we're starting to sow some seeds of resentment, because obviously football was his thing, and now his brother's kind of taking over. Everyone thinks he's a lot better, and I feel like that's going to start leading into potential conflict between the two, and I would not be surprised if at some point Luther or Morgan Edge, I think is the guy's name, kind of manipulates and takes advantage of that resentment. But I don't know. I really did enjoy, like you were saying, like it was just characters. It was not really plot based. It was more just character building and going, this is who they are. This is kind of where they're going to be going. We'll get back to the main plot stuff later, but this is just who you're going to be expecting in this show.
Yeah, I was cool with that. I really hope that this isn't building towards some kind of resentment thing, just because that's such a played out and like the expected thing to do.
But it's
like,
CW.
There was a scene, yeah, it's the CW. That's what like the CW is liking a CW show is. It's like a toxic relationship. It's like hoping that it gets better and they do something that you don't expect, but then they just end up disappointing you anyway. And you're like, oh, well, what did I expect?
Right.
and I'm hoping they, and you know, there's a scene in this episode that kind of points to like them knowing what the better route to do is. It's like Jonathan is a little grumpy about it at first. He literally says football is my thing.
Yeah.
But then like 10 minutes later he's talking to his parents about how like this is the first time that Jordan has been happy. He's making friends.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, not super depressed all the time, which I don't think he would have said if they're trying to make him, you know, they're trying to make them like role reverse, which they very, very easily could do.
Yeah.
I just think like don't, because that's boring.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen. It's just more of the expectations, because CW, it's kind of like the MCU where they've got a formula. You can tell there's a formula behind their shows, but it would be fun if this was truly we're going to break that formula.
And that's such like because I think one of the reasons that a lot of people don't like Superman is that he's boring. And I say this as someone who used to say that about Superman.
I mean, that's what I currently say about Superman.
Yeah,
so.
like I used to have that opinion just because, you know, I made a whole video years ago about how Superman only works as a villain, and kind of my thesis was just that when you have a character who is perfect, it's hard to make that character interesting without turning that premise on its head. And that's true. Superman is interesting as a villain when you take something that powerful, that like good, and flip it. But also, there's nothing wrong with a character who is good and who inspires. And just something that you look at and you feel comfortable being around. And I think that's why so many writers fall into the trap of like trying to make Superman imperfect, which like obviously he's imperfect, but you don't have to make that obvious by like, you know, making him cheat on his wife or something. It's like, it doesn't have to
imagine if they did that.
I would not be surprised. Lana Lang is in this show and clearly has problems with her husband. So
this is, you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I really hope they do not go into that, because that would be a hell of a turn. But
the point in me saying all that is I hope that like the obvious like drama fueled CW thing to do would be to pit Jonathan and Jordan against each other and make them kind of role reverse. But the very nice, like, wholesome Superman thing to do would to these two brothers have issues, but they overcome them and they still work together. And, you know, eventually Jonathan's going to find out he has powers, mark my words, and then they can be super boys together. And I think that would be a much sweeter, like, nicer message that would fit the tone of a Superman show much more than, you know, classic role reversal nonsense.
Right.
I really do feel like if you're gonna make a Superman show or something Superman related, you should stick to the tone and the theming of Superman.
Yeah.
Not turn him into Zack Snyder depression fest.
I actually, hearing you say that, I wonder if instead it will go into Jordan. Like the fact that, because you can tell that his emotions are a bit more wild and uncontrollable compared to Jonathan, and I wonder if they'll turn him into the one that slightly goes not dark side, but a little darker, and then Jonathan will get his powers in order to bring him back from the brink. But I mean, here's hoping they don't do that and they keep to the fact that we've basically, if we could skip to the ending, the Zod group. I'm not sure if you noticed as well that if we're bringing in Zod, it's the lady and the dude that are with him in like that older Superman movie. I want to say Superman 2. I'm not sure.
I've never seen any of the old Superman movies.
Oh, you should look it up there. Like Zod comes with two people, and he's got really tall dude that's with him, and then a woman with him.
Okay.
And when I saw that, my first thought was, I think that might be them.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of ridiculous, to be perfectly honest, because of the fact that we've got Luthor, Morgan Edge, announced Kilgrave's going to be here at some point. I'm not sure if he already is or not. And it would be kind of interesting if they did something, but then also that, I mean, there's so many possibilities with those.
Yeah.
What did you think of that bit?
Yeah, my first thought when, powered people started showing up was that, because Morgan Edge has this, like, sinister... The whole thing with Morgan Edge is, like, why is he in Smallville? Why is he buying all this land and these, like, factories or whatever in Smallville? I think he's making super pills. I think he's, like
Injustice
in
style?
Injustice. Yeah, I think he's just creating some kind of super thing, and that's how eventually Luthor and Edge are gonna, like, team up, is... they're gonna, like, share ideas or whatever. Maybe they already have teamed up, and that's why Edge is suddenly on this warpath to do whatever he's doing. I think that would make sense. I think it would be easy for them to do Zod and have these be actual like Kryptonians or whatever. But again, we've seen that in Supergirl, and I think this show is aware of that, just because they keep showing things that we've seen in Supergirl, but they're not quite the same.
I actually did not know that because I did not watch Supergirl, so I have not been able to catch those references besides the fact that I know this Superman came from that show.
Yeah. We didn't see, like, I don't think we saw Zod, but we saw, like, other Kryptonians. I just, like, broke my foot on something. I'm fine. There's a broken lamp under me that I accidentally hit. Anyway, we've seen...
If you just broke your foot, oh my gosh, you were very combat.
I didn't break my... I opened a little cut because I touched this broken lamp that I need to throw away. The show must go on, Dan. We've seen like Zod analogs in Supergirl before that have straight up, like, come from Krypton. We've seen the Phantom Zone. I think that was in season 1.
Okay.
So, like, that's been done before. And I think, like, at this point, the show is aware. Like, it feels intentional at this point, where they keep showing stuff that, like, we've seen before, but they change it slightly so that it's, like, new, kind of. Because we got the Fortress, but it looks different than it did in Supergirl. We have Lex in his power suit, but it's different than it was in Supergirl. Now we have, other super people, but they're probably going to be different than they were in Supergirl. So I think super pills. That's my bet. Or super, like, their powers are not natural, is my guess.
Right. I mean, I could see it. I could definitely see it. Whether it's super pills or even the potential of, like, androids, like Amazo style androids,
which we've also seen in Supergirl.
We have seen, but I do want to say, because you've mentioned things being shown in Supergirl, I do not think that they should hinder themselves based on that for viewers like me that have not seen Supergirl, that it's like, I would be down for the Zod thing, like, if it turns out that these are actually underlings of that evil Superman from Lex's universe that actually followed Lex into this new universe, and they're actually trying to find Lex this whole time. And then we get the weird Lex and Clark team up, which once again would be done. But I mean, hey, we'll see what happens with that one. But I do like the idea of the super pills, because then there are so many more. There's the problem of you get too many supers, but you also have the benefit of certain people can find it that do have that resentment, like Lana Lang's husband right now. If he were to get one, you can tell he would do something to Clark. I mean, that's just kind of a given.
I think that would make a lot of sense for, like, the Lois of the situation. Like, if they're just Kryptonians, then what's the grounded part of that Lois can dig into? Because this is Superman and Lois, and, like, Superman will deal with the multiversal Lex, who has kryptonite and wants to beat him up, and then Lois can deal with Morgan Edge and the investigation of these, like, artificial whatever, and how they're getting their powers. And I think that would make more sense. But to your point, I totally agree that they shouldn't let Supergirl, like, hold them back in terms of what they can show. And I don't think they are. I think they're just being smart about it, because, like, if they were like, we're going to do things that Supergirl didn't do, sort of like when Tom Holland Spider-Man first started with Homecoming, we didn't get, Green Goblin or anything. We got the Vulture. They just completely were like, we're not doing anything that were in those movies. I think this show is like, we are going to do things. We're going to hit on beats that were in Supergirl, but we're going to change them. Because regardless of the source of the powers, we've seen Superman analogs as villains before.
Yeah.
So I think they're just like, we want to do that because we know people will like it regardless of if they've seen it before. But if we do it the exact same way that we did it in Supergirl, then the people who watch Supergirl will get pissed or just annoyed. So I think this is a smart way to do that, is to, because obviously a lot of new eyes are going to be on this show. And they want to hit those classic Superman beats, but they don't want to do them in a way that will alienate their like bigger audience.
Yeah.
So I think they're handling it well. It took a couple episodes for me to like get on board, but I think overall, like, now I'm kind of into the show if it keeps up at this rate. So
yeah,
you got me, CW.
They did a good job of getting me as well into a show that I was not expecting to enjoy. I was expecting this to be the one that was like crap, I gotta watch Superman and Lois so that we can talk about it. But now I'm kind of like, all right, no, I'm down to watch this. Cool. Like, let's do this. Yeah. Because I also enjoy testing the theories with you and Benny sometimes, which, don't worry, guys, Benny will be back sometimes, but occasionally we'll get just the two of us because he does a lot of stuff. Do we know... busy people. Exactly. Do we know anything behind the kid that was taken, by the way? Like, is there any chance that kid's got powers and they harvested him for his powers?
No idea. That name sounded familiar, but I didn't look it up.
I didn't either. I kind of regret not looking that up now. But
I will look it up.
Well, I just think it would be interesting if he did have meta powers, because we have shown that there are metas in this world, and it would speak to what you were saying of the super pills, of harvesting these people to turn their powers into, pills. Essentially just turning them into concentrated power to use it. And potentially maybe this kid that they found has powers that would counter or be able to affect Superman in ways we would not understand. And that's why they would do it. Turns out it's Lois's dad this whole time that's harvesting the powers and working with Morgan Edge.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's a crazy twist.
From my 2 Google searches, by the way, I couldn't find anything on Derek Powell. But I think it's just like a generic enough name that both of us were like, who is that? Maybe that's someone. But as far as I could tell, no. But that would make sense. Kidnapped kids who have like some kind of powered gene, or maybe they're just test subjects.
It's like the test of, here's the pill, let's see if it works on you, kind of thing.
Right. And it could be that, like, because Lois did have a line in this episode that was like talking about how big stories never happen in small towns, and she was like, oh, they do. Just reporters who cover those aren't around to cover them. Yeah. And that could be foreshadowing for like, hey, Morgan Edge has been doing this in small towns everywhere, and there's only 3 kids who have been kidnapped in Smallville, but like he's got hundreds of test subjects across the world.
That's a great point, because I would not be surprised if Lois goes and researches these other towns and goes, there's missing kids over there too.
Right.
That'd be cool.
I think that could be her big eureka moment. But yeah, I think both of us are pretty on board with this show at this point. So you want to give any final thoughts?
Not really. I think one thing I'm a big fan of with this show so far is that it's got a lot of stuff in it that gives us very thought-provoking, very theory-provoking, where you're like, where could that be leading? Like, you can tell there's something behind it, but they have not made it clear. So I'm always a fan of theories and stuff like that. So I like that bit to the show, but overall, I'm enjoying the show. I think people should definitely give it the 3-episode test to see if it works for them.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think there's enough in this show where, like, obviously most of the stuff that we're harping on in terms of like where we think the show is going and is based on the CW, not because like when we talk about a show like The Flash that's been around for 7 seasons, obviously the CW influence is still there, but most of that we can guess pretty accurately because there's been 7 seasons of that show.
Right.
But with a show like this, it's so new but it's familiar enough that it's interesting to question where stuff is going. So yeah, I totally agree. That's it for us. I'm horrible at outros. Thanks for watching. Let us know if Derek Powell actually is something, and my 2 like 30-second Google searches weren't thorough enough.
You should have been checking Bing.
That's right. Go to Bing and let us know what you find. Other than that, stay tuned for more discussions on the CW shows and Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is coming soon. I'm sure we're all gonna watch that.
Oh, definitely.
Probably enjoy that. I'm not biased. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Subscribe, click the bell, do the YouTube things. Any last words before I terminate you, Dan?
Phrasing.
I'm Superman.
Oh God. Catch you guys next time.